Most people building AI agents right now are making the same 5 mistakes, and that's why their agents break the moment a real business touches them. I've seen builders spend weeks creating agents that look amazing in testing, perfect responses, everything works. But once it hits real workflows, real customers, and real edge cases, everything falls apart. So in this video, I'm breaking down the 5 biggest mistakes people make when implementing AI agents inside a business. Mistakes that kill reliability, kill team adoption, and kill ROI. We're going to run through the mistakes, why they happened, and what to do instead. So by the end of this video, you know exactly how to build agents that don't just work in demos, but also work in production. If you're new here, I'm Amadou. I build AI automations and agent systems for real companies. And on this channel, I break down what works, what fails, and how to deploy AI that actually saves time and makes money. Let's jump into mistake number 1. The first mistake is no wordful understanding. So many people, like the stick figure, will kind of just have that they want to build an agent in mind and just start building without understanding truly why or what they're building, right? So building without understanding the actual workflow. You can't automate what you don't understand, and there is no solution first thinking in this, because when you want to build an agent, you have to know what it's going to connect to, how you're going to use it, what tasks it's supposed to complete. So understanding the workflow is very crucial at this stage when you first start before building anything, right? This is actually one of the topics that I cover more in depth in my readiness assessment. So if you're unsure exactly which AI agent tool you want to fix, check the link in the description. So moving on, the fix for this is really to talk to users, map out the current processes, find pain points, and then build. You want to have more of a consultative field for this, because when you go to the doctor and you have an issue, right? The doctor doesn't just throw any medication at you before they truly understand what the pain level is, where it's hurting, how long it's been hurting, and then they diagnose it as whatever the issue is, and then give you a cure. So in this case, we want to move the same exact way and move as like a doctor trying to prescribe or diagnose a situation for the client. So uncover any actual problems in your discovery calls and shadow actual users and understand the current processes and workflow that the business has. Moving on, mistake number 2, having what I call a Swiss Army knife agent. So I've seen this as like Jarvis agent that does everything, right? So one agent that takes care of your intake, billing, docs, email support. And this is going to overwhelm your AI agent, not only with just credits, but a lot of output and the quality of that output, right? So you shouldn't try to do everything within the agent. And I think with this, we want to be very specific, right? So the fix is having specific agents handling specific tasks, right? So having an intake agent, a doc agent, customer support agent that does each of their specific jobs very well. And then in this case, we can connect the outputs from each and then pass them over to each subsequent agent, so they're able to feed off of and use that as input. So this is a strategic way to make sure that you're not just overwhelming your one Swiss Army knife agent, but also deliberately making sure that each agent has a specific task it handles very well. Moving on to mistake number 3 is no human in the loop. This is pretty crucial, I think, even at this stage, as our large language models even continue to get better, because when you have very crucial elements that your agents are responsible for in your workflow, you want to make sure that you just aren't blindly trusting them to get certain things done, right? So you have your data, the AI, and then auto action, and then you have fails at the end, right? So we want to stop this from preventing, for example, like legal forms being sent out, transferring money, and production changes, right? So when you have full automation, this enhances the risk that you have within your business and pass over to the agent, right? So in this case, the fix is typically going to look like having data, AI analyzes it, and then you have a point where your human is going to review the output that is given by the agent and then approve it and then pass it on to complete whatever that action is, right? So you approve critical actions, escalate them when you're unsure, and then review for quality, and then also learn from feedback as we go. So using human intervention before critical steps is really key, because if you can identify which steps are most prone to failure or that you would want to really get some extra eyes on, it would help you in the long term with making sure that you have consistent flows within your AI agent in your business. This is very important because having a human in the loop not only can prevent any harmful damage being done to your business, but I think it's also a necessary habit to have, because it definitely helps you get trained on what your AI agent is going to output most of the time. So I think having really clear and what type of workflow you have and where are the failure points is definitely important. And I think the readiness assessment is also a key tool that can help you identify these in the link in the description pretty fast. So moving on to mistake number 4, having unoptimized data. So having scattered docs, random formats, and inconsistent tables just confuses your agent, right? So we want to make sure that we're giving our agent really reliable data and inputs so they can make sense of it and consistently get things done. So spend less of the agent's time processing that and making sense of it and really analyzing it and making sure that it's going to be useful output at the end. So the fix is having raw data, giving it a clean structure, validated format, and having at the end a fast and reliable agent. So clean inputs equal consistent outputs. And for example, I have some screenshots of some SQL code, and I think SQL is a pretty good format for a lot of agents to operate on because they can use natural language and create any SQL queries to use that information to query from databases. And then once you have tables that relate to each other based on certain identifiers, it just allows you to create more of a robust data platform that you can use to input to your agents. Moving on to mistake number 5 is having no guardrails or error handling. So this is going to be very important because once you have a system in place that your agent is able to handle certain things autonomously, you want to put them in a confined space so that they aren't just kind of free roaming and have free will to just act any way they want. So having guardrails is super important, and also making sure that you have error handling workflows that can either continue while the error passes or retry on fails. So this looks like having an input, right? And the agent goes, processes that, and you have all this commotion here. And you have no clue because there's nothing that actually tells you what went wrong or how it went wrong so you can prevent it in the future. So some of these examples are API timeouts, bad data, or even hallucinations. So all these have the ability to kind of look as if they were operating properly within your AI agent system. But if you have no way to keep eyes on them or keep tabs on them, then you would just assume that they're working correctly. So when one thing breaks, everything fails, and you don't want that to happen, especially in a production system, because you don't want things to have downstream effects to your customers or even your team. So the fix, like I mentioned, is having guardrails, setting rate limits, having read-only access, batch processing, retry on fails, and error logging. The main input, right, the agent has, and then you get success. And then the branch where you might get like some sort of timeout where the agent already knows to retry 3 times on a failure. And then branch 2, when you have no results, you have a fallback message. And then batch 3, you might have low confidence from the agent. And then now there's an ask for human in the loop. And then from all these, you can learn from the errors and make sure that you have more capabilities to handle that in the future as you go on. So I even included a bonus where we have some differences between demo environments and also production environments. So in a demo, you have perfect test data because you outlined it all yourself. Everything works great in meetings, and then you test for almost 0 to few edge cases. And then when you build an agent, everything seems to work perfectly, right? And then in production, the reality is it's more stormy. There's multiple paths, edge cases, and chaos. And you're running the system 500 times a day versus just 10 times a day when you were in demo. And you're testing it against actual workflows that are in your production environment. And just to recap, the 5 mistakes you don't want to make are having no workflow understanding. The cure to this is do a deep discovery. And then you don't want to have any Swiss Army knife agent that is responsible for everything. Solution to this, you want to have task-specific agents that are responsible for individual tasks. And number 3 is having no human in the loop. And instead of this, you want to observe the agent at each critical step to make sure that they're operating correctly. And then number 4, having unoptimized data. The solution to this is having clean, structured formats that are consistent for your agent to process. And the last mistake you want to avoid is having no guardrails or error handling in your workflow. So you want to in place any protocols to make sure that things are running smoothly and consistently. So if you found this helpful, definitely check the link in the description because the assessment goes through more in detail and how you can tailor this specifically to your business. And thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.